Good morning, everybody. Oh, it is so great to see you. I am not even at all past the utter thrill of being three-dimensional with you all. Thank you again for being here. And welcome to day 2 of the conference. It's a day when we get to hear from many, many wonderful climate advocates. So I couldn't be more thrilled than that we are starting the morning with Jameka Hodnett. Jameka is Green for All's National Campaign Director, where she leads Dream.org's green campaigns at the national and state level. The Green for All program works to ensure that as the economy grows, all communities will benefit from good jobs, better health, and increased opportunity. Jameka has over a decade of experience as a campaigner and legal advocate. She's worked with groups like the Outreach Team and AB Partners, the ACLU, DC Solar United Neighborhoods, 350.org, and Sierra Club. My goodness, Jameka. Jameka has led IRA implementation efforts at Dream.org, ensuring that the benefits of the historic climate investments are reaching frontline communities. CCL has gained so much through our work with Jameka and the Dream.org team, as both of our organizations fought for the passage of the IRA and are now engaging on permitting reform. So please join me in welcoming Jameka Hodnett. Welcome.
Oh, it's kind of bright. Hello, party people. I am so thrilled to get the chance to speak with you all about climate and clean energy and accelerating the benefits of the IRA for local communities across the country. I want to use my time today to walk you through my vision for using the IRA to transition away from fossil fuels and the hurdles we need to push our legislators past to get us to that vision. First of all, we just need to start by patting ourselves on the back right now. Right now. And why? That's because of the hard work you all and all the other climate advocates have tirelessly pushed for over the last decade. Well, now we can at least finally say climate. But no, actually, we are doing what we have set out to do. We are actively accelerating the clean energy economy on a daily basis. We are passing legislation at the state and local level that gets us to GHG reduction and transforming our transportation systems past the combustion engine and toward the future we can all dream of. We climate advocates are visionaries. We might not know exactly what the future looks like, but our fearlessness on our quest to make our home planet cleaner, safer, and habitable is what keeps us going. We know that we need to go further to get us to that vision, so we are prepared to take action for people and planet. So again, let's pat ourselves on the back for the passage of the IRA. This is the culmination of over a decade of climate advocacy work. Every climate advocate who has lobbied, protested, marched, organized, picketed, and yelled through a bullhorn has had a hand in making this deal occur. So yes, take some credit. The IRA is the single largest investment in climate and clean energy in American history, enabling America to tackle the climate crisis, advancing environmental justice, securing America's position as a world leader in domestic clean energy production and manufacturing, and putting us on a pathway to achieve net zero economy by 2050. The $370 billion investment will lower energy costs for struggling families and small businesses, accelerate the private investment in clean energy solutions for every sector across the country and our economy, and strengthen supply chains for everything from critical minerals to efficient electric appliances, and create good-paying jobs and new economic opportunities for workers in every state, including those in red states. And I know even more so, it's very apparent seeing the Canadian wildfires that climate change is happening right now. And so I'm super excited to see that the IRA will reduce GHG emission reductions by up to 40% by 2030 compared to 2005 levels. Just in 2022 alone, it is estimated that the IRA has already created 67,000 new jobs, adding on to more than the 3.2 million Americans already working in the clean energy economy. This is exciting news, and I always like to talk about the exciting news because we need it. I know we talk a lot about doom and gloom as climate advocates, but we really do need to lean into some of this positivity if we're going to get to where we're going. We are on our way. We are working hard, campaigning and persuading and advocating. And let's lean into our wins. As climate advocates, we know that there is more to be done. We have a target of emissions reductions, but it is about more than that for us. We are transforming the way we operate, the way we think about our environment, our natural systems. We are changing minds and hearts, changing what people have to work with in their wallets, and changing the way that we think about community. We are focusing on climate and environmental equity, which brings us back to ourselves, to our roots, focusing on community and helping us to work together to find solutions to this problem we are all grappling with every day. And at the crux of it all, that is our collective vision, right? To not only transform ourselves as better stewards of the earth and its natural resources, but to also infuse those same values into our communities and our society so that we can get into equilibrium with nature. And so we know that there's more to be done. There's always more, right? And climate change continues to accelerate, and we are organizing on limited time. But we have learned from our past mistakes, right? From the repeal of the Clean Power Plan and the shunting of the Paris Agreement, we have been taught that legislation is nothing without the ability to implement it. And we will not be able to implement the IRA without some reforms on permitting for clean energy. But we want comprehensive reforms, not more fossil fuel infrastructure like the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which ironically goes directly to through my hometown of Roanoke, Virginia. So I have a personal stake in that one. But we want more reforms that include community impact reporting, which will assess the impacts of proposed projects on environmental justice communities. We want meaningful community engagement and interagency environmental data coordination, which helps us to prioritize equity while paving the way for needed infrastructure improvements, such as high voltage transmission lines and charging infrastructure. And lastly, we want to ensure that we are protecting our nation's bedrock environmental laws while simultaneously accelerating the clean energy economy. Comprehensive permitting reform will allow large clean energy projects to flourish, connecting state and local jurisdictions together and reforming our highly fragmented electrical grid. And we desperately need this grid upgrade if we are going to cut emissions, clean our air, and usher in the benefits of a clean energy future. And as an innovative bunch, we can do that, right? This will be our next big hurdle. So it's time for us to lace your sneakers, Continue knocking, calling, and showing up at your legislators' offices. Let's accelerate our just transition towards a clean energy economy using what we already have an abundance of, people power. Thank you. And I'll take some questions from folks.
All right, if everybody could write your questions down on the cards, there should be some index cards on your tables. So write down questions you have for Jameka, and we will walk around and gather them, bring them to the back, and I will ask them.
Am I CCO member? I think I'm honorary.
And Jameka, while they are writing their questions, getting their questions in, I would just love to kick things off by hearing what has it been like for you guys on the Green for All team, the Dream.org team over there, in the recent weeks as there's been some progress on permitting reform? How have you in your organization been thinking of it? What's your perspective on where things stand after the debt ceiling package?
Yes, absolutely. So of course we were nail biting, just trying to figure out, okay, so how do we protect the IRA? And so now that that's, somewhat off the chopping block, we were thinking through, okay, so that there are some things in there around permitting, but the way that we feel is that it's not nearly enough to get us to where we need to be. And some of the things that I just talked about around the transmission line piece, about bringing on more interagency staff is missing, particularly around getting that piece with FERC, making FERC, the approver of specific interagency sort of transmission pieces. Those sort of things are missing completely. And, we feel that we have to keep the momentum up because it sort of took some of the wind out of our sails, right? We had all of this bipartisan support around it, and so we just didn't want that to go away now that a little bit has been done in the debt ceiling deal. And so now we're just trying to figure out, okay, how do we get back in the game, back putting the things that we want on the table, back even pulling in sort of our bipartisan coalition and having these conversations about what do we actually want, what can we put forward as a package that can get bipartisan support and can be passed. And now we feel it's the time to keep going. I think I was telling someone else that there was a New York Times article that just came out this morning about permitting reform. And so, yeah. And so I feel like everyone is really leaning into it, talking about it, from the more right-wing groups to the left-wing groups. Everybody wants to see some sort of action around permitting and really talking about it in a very nuanced way. I believe the article talked a little bit about it bringing more fossil fuel infrastructure online. And so that is something that we have to grapple with as climate advocates. How do we lean into accelerating the clean energy economy, but also keeping and holding in our minds that more fossil fuel infrastructure could come on, and how would that impact environmental justice communities? And it's a very nuanced topic. It's something that we can't just mow past. And so that's the way that we're thinking about it at DREAM.
Great, thank you. And I can think of several hundred folks who will be on the Hill on Tuesday who will help keep pushing this thing in the right direction.
Wonderful.
So our next question says, please tell us more about Green for All and Dream Corps.
Oh, yes. So Green for All is really focused on leaning into getting past poverty and pollution for local communities on the ground. So we have some place-based efforts, particularly in Michigan, Colorado, North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina. So we work at the local level on accelerating the benefits of the clean energy economy. And so it looks like digging in, doing some state-based advocacy. One of the things that I'll be talking about later on the IRA panel is some of the legislative pieces that we're passing in our core states that really focuses on bundling the IRA funds for disadvantaged communities and making sure that those benefits are like sort of earmarked using a piece of already written legislation that we've been shopping around to legislators at the state level. And so really working on the Green for All team has given me the chance to lean into sort of that people-centered element around climate and environmental justice. And me being a diehard environmentalist, always focusing on the natural landscape and, you know, directly thinking about our air and water and all of those things, you know, it gives me the opportunity to really focus on, okay, so how does this show up in people's wallets? How is this impacting people's electric bills? How is this impacting people's jobs prospects? Because, you know, some places like where I'm from in Virginia, Roanoke, Virginia, it's a place that desperately needs that infusion of jobs from the clean energy economy. And so it's given me the opportunity to really talk about, okay, what do we want? You know, I think we do spend a lot of time talking about what we do not want. And so it's refreshing to really start to shape these things. Like us in this room, we are at the crux and the precipice of formulating a new economy, formulating a new way of doing things. And so, you know, talking about and getting in the room and talking about, okay, these are the things that we want, laying it out in a comprehensive way. I find that our legislators are really looking for direction. And so I know that you all are eager to get in there and talk about it, right? And so that's what we're doing at DREAM, just really working with legislators, talking about the things that we like, the things that would benefit environmental justice communities, and then making sure that we are working with them to create legislation that would get us to that mark.
All right. And we have a question from Zoom, actually. Someone's asking, could you just tell your climate story? Tell us a little bit more about what brought you to this work.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm originally, like I said, I'm originally from Roanoke, Virginia, and I am a child of environmental justice. And so the area that I lived in Roanoke, sat adjacent to a landfill and incinerator for 20 years. So it was an EJ community. And my grandma had me at 7 years old knocking doors for the NAACP. And so when I moved to DC back around 2008, it was a no-brainer that I would be working on climate and environmental justice issue. It's already pretty instilled in me growing up in that area, being from Appalachia, like really being deep in the sort of landscape and being surrounded by such a beautiful landscape, but also, you know, juxtaposed to you know, human impacts and waste impacts, and really seeing, you know, what we could develop if we just put ourselves out there, used our sort of people power muscle, and really started asking for the things that we did want to see in our communities. And so I did that and came to DC and started at the Chesapeake Climate Action Network. I was working, when was it? I can't remember the year, but we were working on a project called Stop Cove Point. There are probably some people in the room that remember that. and it was a natural gas facility. And out of that, that's where I really cut my teeth, and we ended up getting a fracking ban in Maryland, and yeah. And then just kept working. A lot of my work has been on the ground as an organizer, organizing against fossil fuel infrastructure and pipelines like Keystone XL and Line 3 in Minnesota, and of course Mountain Valley Pipeline and AVP Pipeline, and all of these different pieces of fossil fuel infrastructure. And so, again, organizing a lot around like what we don't want. And so, digging into that, leaning into that, sometimes winning, sometimes losing, and just learning, on the ground from communities about what it means to actually come into a community with a lot of care, with a lot of concern. I worked a little bit on the Beyond Coal campaign out of Pittsburgh. We actually, this year, my friend just sent me the video of the stacks that on the coal plant that I worked on coming down, and so that's another win. And so just being on the ground and really hearing community concerns and things like that have really sort of shaped my vision and outlook around environmental work as more than just, of course, reduction in GHG emissions, but really thinking about community care and thinking about how do we get back to that place of community. I think a lot of the spaces that we used to use for community have been sort of diminished, and so a lot of us in the environmental space, I think we're in sort of a better off place than other folks. At least we have a community of folks that we can lean into and talk about things and talk about the vision for the world that we want to see. And so I think that we can take that and spread it around a bit, right? I keep saying it, like, we're in a pretty good place. People are looking for next steps. People are looking for vision. People are looking to come together. Even us, like, we're willing to, lean out and get that olive branch out to really talk to folks from the right side of the aisle about, okay, so we might not agree on everything, but what can we agree on? And I think I took a little bit of that Virginia spirit with me in doing that. And so, just working over my career, it's been sort of really eye-opening to, come into myself and think about, okay, what world are we building? Who are we building it with? And how are we going to do that? Are we going to do it in a way that leans into, again, that community care and concern? Are we going to do it in a way that listens to others, like truly listens to others, and feel where their family is, where their hurt and concern is coming from, the things that they want to see for their livelihoods and their communities? And so that's the way that I approach my work.
Our next question asks, if the doom and gloom rhetoric is a method of leading by fear, how can we communicate urgency and still lead by optimism and hope?
Oh, I love that one. I think that we do it all the time. Even right now, okay, so we have this momentum around the IRA and permitting. We have this momentum around, I think that we have a pretty good consensus from communities across the country that they don't want any more new fossil fuel infrastructure. That is not sort of I don't hear folks on the ground saying, yes, please build that pipeline. So I think, again, like leaning into that piece around, okay, so this is not actually a concern or something that a community is fighting for on the local level. And so we have a lot of momentum around pushing back against that. And I believe like taking advantage of the current moment, right? Everybody was talking about the air quality issues from the Canadian wildfires recently. And so we have to use those opportunities to really talk to people about what that means. You know, people in my family, I was actually in Roanoke this weekend for my nephew's graduation. And I was such an excited and proud auntie. But even all the way down there, we were getting the air quality warnings and the notifications, and really it was impacting people. And so it just gave me the opportunity to talk to them about something that would be, you know, really wonky some other time. They're like, oh, there's Jameka talking about that climate. But just using those opportunities to lean into the conversation, and you know, that's something that hadn't occurred, you know, not in my lifetime, where we've seen, you know, that sort of situation down in the Roanoke Valley. And so leaning into that and like, hey, so this is the thing I'm always talking about. You know, I work on that. And so just using that as an opportunity to really infuse some urgency into it. And what I found is like, people are really supportive. Like, I just don't see the pushback and the rhetoric that I see, you know, coming from, you know, other folks that are, you know, just not on our side. And some folks are just not going to be there, but that's okay, you know. As long as we are willing to lean in and have the conversation, that's enough for me, you know. I think that we do a lot of trying, and look how far we've come. We've done a lot of trying, and I can say that our movement is completely transformed since 2011, right? Like, we couldn't even get politicians to say climate. They had to sort of go around the issue or talk about it in another format or in another way, and now we have such a comprehensive agenda, and now no politician can go in office or get on stage without really, you know, no politician that actually like wants to win can skirt around the issue. And so I think that we're doing a bang up job.
All right, we have time for one more question, and you're getting lots of appreciation on the cards back here, folks saying, could you come to our lobby meeting? Can you talk to my member of Congress? So I'd love to just hear, to wrap up, about what Green for All has been doing specifically with Congress and your recent lobby day that you had in the last few weeks. Tell us a little bit about that to wrap up here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So definitely got my calluses in with that lobby day. But we really went up in there to talk to legislators about, again, protecting the IRA, so achieved that, whoop, whoop. But also a bit about the permitting reform issue, and really talking about, again, leaning into the things that we do want. I feel like this is one of those issues where I was initially very sort of concerned to lean into the conversation. I'm like, this is not the one that I kind of want to touch. And, you know, it was because of legitimate concerns from environmental justice communities, but, you know, really leaning into it and reading the literature and, you know, creating the fact sheets and doing a deep dive for myself, you know, because I had to create the materials for a lobby day. It sort of opened my eyes and saying, okay, so some sort of permitting reform is going to happen. This is an opportunity to dig in and, again, talk about the things that we do want, the transmission line piece, the interagency piece, the sort of community benefit agreement piece, right? If a line is going to go through a community, then how can, you know, we do kickbacks to that community? How can the state sort of benefit from that transmission line? And those sort of things that I really think that, you know, states would be on board with if we really had sort of a comprehensive thing that we're presenting to them. Folks are always looking for what would be the benefit for me, and so I'm always looking for ways to communicate that. Especially, I feel like that climate is a tremendous opportunity to infuse some of the things that we keep talking about. We need sort of a shot in the arm around the economy. We need to, increase domestic production around clean energy through manufacturing. We need like so many more electricians coming online. There's an influx of climate companies coming online, and so I just feel like that this is our opportunity to really talk about that was like, Jameka, shut up. Yeah, so that's our opportunity to really talk about, okay, these are the benefits of the clean energy economy. These are the things that we can do. These are the things that we can make happen. These are the sort of jobs we need. This is the influx. We have all this money, right? And so what are we going to do with it? And so we were talking to legislators about that and really educating them on the IRA. I didn't realize how much education needed to be done. Yeah. I'm like, this big bill, the Biden administration has put this out, $370 billion, and, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take this opportunity to spin it my way. So that's what we did, and that's what we're going to continue to do. And I hope that you all will get in there. Like I said, lace up your sneakers, stay on them, stay on them. I know you will. But thank you all so much.
All right, thank you again to Jameka Hodnett. Thank you for that wonderful CCL appreciation of her. And now we are welcoming to the stage CCL's Senior Development Officers, Perry Hodgkins-Jones and Topher Anderson.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Perry Hodgkins-Jones, and I am a Senior Development Officer with Citizens Climate Lobby.
And I'm Topher Anderson, and I'm a Senior Development Officer with Citizens Climate Lobby.
I am an East Coast liberal, and Topher here is a Midwestern conservative.
Yeah. I'm a Catholic, and she's a Protestant.
I read the New York Times and the Washington Post, and Topher reads the Wall Street Journal and the Dispatch?
Yeah. And I'm a Cubs fan, and she roots for the Yankees. Like, what?
Hey!
Right, boo. So, we shouldn't be friends, right? Our political culture would tell us we should be fighting and opposing and disdaining each other. But here's the thing, and this is going to be really awkward if I'm wrong, we are good friends. And in fact, yeah, I would say that I love Perry like I would my own sister, because working at CCL together has taught us to respect and to love each other by starting with our common humanity and an acknowledgement of each other's humanity.
And we do have a lot in common. We're both parents who deeply love our children and our spouses. We're avid readers who love to trade book recommendations, and our faith is a central part of both our lives. And we're brought together by a common desire to cherish this beautiful world and to protect it by working with CCL. And maybe most importantly, we're both lying about how much we care about baseball.
It's true, I only watched the World Series when the Cubs were in it, so there we are. But this friendship and this deep sharing hasn't diminished our differences, right? If I'm the color red and Perry is the color blue, it's not made us purple. Instead, it has made me a more vibrant red and Perry a more vibrant blue, because our common respect has taught each other that we can just be curious and just ask each other hard, sensitive questions to learn to truly see each other. And yeah, go ahead. At the risk of sounding arrogant, because I know this is a bold statement, I think that this is exactly what Marshall envisioned for CCL, right? As you heard at the beginning of the conference, he said that we are building an army, a peaceful army, and our weapons are truth, nonviolence, and respect and admiration for those who would oppose us. And all of us, as we join the ranks together in this peaceful army, we use those tools in our monthly chapter meetings, in our lobby meetings, and most importantly, in our lives. But we don't just wield those tools, we're transformed by them. And our relationships with our opposites and with our enemies can become deep friendships. And I totally forget what I'm about to say.
So we ask you now to just look around you at the CCLers at your table, like actually look around you right now at the CCLers at your table and in this huge room full of people. And know that right now we're also joined by thousands of CCLers who are streaming online who couldn't be here today in person. You are from all over the country, and some of you the world. You are liberals and conservatives, libertarians and socialists, you're professors and students, you're artists and economists, you're birdwatchers and bookworms, athletes and outdoorsmen. You might be a vegan or an omnivore or anything in between. And the most important piece of this is that we are all showing up here together. And we see you working together in every nook and cranny available in this hotel with your heads down, huddled together, meticulously planning for your lobby meetings tomorrow. We see you in the hallways laughing together. We see you playing board games and regularly committing to meeting with your chapters. You're putting in the hard work. And in that process, you're building these strong and enduring relationships.
So it's not just about us two. We all are what Marshall envisioned for CCL, right? This is what our country and our climate needs to heal our democracy and to heal our climate. Already, our collective impact is not only that we've made carbon pricing mainstream with the most co-sponsored carbon pricing bill in US history, right? It's not only that we played a leadership role in the passage of 6 bipartisan laws and the Inflation Reduction Act. Yeah. And it's not only that we will hit net zero by 2050, and we will guarantee that livable world for all of us. It's also that we've been changed and transformed in the process to become the citizens that this democracy needs. And you all are the ones that make this entire movement happen. I like to say that you're our generous investors with a capital I, because many of you have traveled far from across the country to be here, and you're all investing your time today to become the best advocates you can. You're investing your passion and your cleverness and your love for the people around you. And you show your courage time and time again to step out of your comfort zone and try something new to pull the levers of political will. And each and every one of these is a heartfelt investment, so I thank you.
And now we ask you, yes, thank you. And now we're here to ask you, as some of the people who are most invested in the Citizens Climate model, to consider making an additional investment. And at this point in the conference, we typically take the opportunity to invite those with the ability to do so to become Climate Guardian donors. These are folks who give $10,000 or more in a year. And I'm going to do that in a moment. But before I do, I'd like to invite everyone here to consider something. We ask each and every one of you in this room and streaming online to consider making a further investment in Citizens Climate Lobby. And we make this bold ask because Our climate needs so much more of this. Our democracy needs so much more of this. It needs more of us. And we need funding to deepen our training, to expand our footprint in every state, and to strengthen our leadership on Capitol Hill. If you're feeling inspired by this enormous group of dedicated people, we ask that you respond in one of three ways. First, if you haven't yet made a gift to CCL, we ask that today you consider making a meaningful donation, whatever feels meaningful to you, and we ask that you consider making that gift monthly, which helps sustain our work throughout the year. Second, if you already give to CCL, thank you. Seriously, thank you. And we ask that you consider stretching that support today by making an additional one-time or monthly gift. Because just like your actions add up and build political will in a big way, every dollar adds up and has an enormous impact on our mission and our ability to do this work. And third and finally, if you have the capacity to do so, we ask that you consider becoming a Climate Guardian donor by making a pledge of $10,000 or more today. This level of gift is a core pillar of our funding, and there are dozens of Climate Guardians with us already. This is a bold step, and we believe there are at least 6 or 7 new Climate Guardians in the audience right now. So we ask that if you have that ability and capacity, that you consider taking this opportunity. Thank you.
Awesome. So we're actually going to give you guys a moment right now to respond as you see fit. I'm going to ask Ricky to play some music in a moment, but first I'll share some brief instructions. To make a one-time or monthly donation, you can open your conference brochure, and on the inside cover or on the projectors here are 2 QR codes. To make a monthly or one-time donation, please just scan the top one or the one that says to donate on the right here, or left, and fill out your information. If you haven't used a QR code before, please just pull out your phone and you'll open up the camera app and then hold it over the QR code and a link should pop up for you to click. One more time for the Mark Reynolds in the room. Please pull out your phone, open the camera app, and hold it over the QR code, then click on the link. But if you have any issues with the QR code, you can also raise your hand, and I know a neighbor or a staff member will come help you. If you're considering a Climate Guardian gift, please take this moment to get the ball rolling for you. So consider what's possible for you, or maybe write out any questions you have, or text your significant other to get their input. Then, once the music is over, please come up to the stage and talk to us. Perry, Madeline, Mark, and I will be up here to answer any questions you have and to celebrate. If you're not able to come up, though, you can also scan that bottom QR code in your brochure or the one on the right to send us an email with your name and phone number, and we will find a time to connect. So with that, I'm going to let Ricky play us some beautiful music. I do ask that we stay seated through this time, and then after the music, we'll all head out to a break.